Using your eyeballs, I want you to look all the way to your left,
Okay.
thinking about that tift about the garbage. And then using just your eyeballs, look all the way to the right.
Oh, sorry. Have you ever felt like you're working hard but not seeing the results you dreamt of? You're not alone. Many entrepreneurs face challenges like self-doubt and the fear of taking risks. Today, we're diving into these very issues with Jennie Hays. Jennie is a remarkable individual whose background in paramedicine, coaching, and entrepreneurship gives her a unique perspective. Jennie is passionate about helping ambitious people like us break through these emotional barriers. So, guys, get ready to discover the power of brain spotting therapy and how it can propel you towards the success you deserve. Brain spotting therapy. I've never heard of this. Like, ever, 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 ever.
Ever, ever, ever. Yes. It is a relatively new therapy. So it was created in 2003 by a gentleman named David Grand. And he was working with a client doing a technique called EMDR. Many people are more familiar with EMDR, but some still aren't. And basically what EMDR is, it's a therapy where you're working on connecting the two halves of the brain. And people will follow the hand movements and their eyes will move back and forth, and that's what it stands for, is eye movement rapid desensitization.
Okay.
And so basically what we're doing what it boils down to is we're taking old memories, old traumas, and we're putting them in long-term storage where they don't hurt us anymore. Well, what he found is that when, instead of just going back and forth between the sides of the brain, when we focus on where that sensation is worse, we actually can process that faster, like twice as fast. And we're talking about things like imposter syndrome, fear of charging what you're worth, fear of being seen, self-doubt in business. Yeah. Sometimes all it takes is one session.
So how does that work?
Nobody really knows for sure, but here's the theory.
We just know it works. So, it's magic. I'll take it.
And it's not like one of these woo-woo things. I mean, it's the reality is we're moving a memory into long-term storage. And we know that scientifically that helps.
So wait.
That fixes things.
So what happens if it's in short-term memory, when it gets triggered, it's like right there front and center. But if we move it to long-term storage, like if there's a potential trigger, like it's so far back there and in storage, like you would have to really, really work hard to unpack that to make it impact you the same way, because it's like it's so far in the distance that it's not really part of your active everyday life, right?
No, not quite, because actually some of these things that are causing us problems are from forever ago.
Right.
Forever and ever ago. I recently unpacked that some of my self-esteem, which people on the other side of this may not think I have any self-esteem issues, but we all do, right? But some of mine actually trace back to before I was even, walking, talking. I think I was like 18 months to, 2 years old at the most.
How do you get back that far? But here's I know, like consciously, I can't remember that far. So I'm trying to figure out what you mean when you say long-term storage. I'm like, long-term storage. I'm like, that is like, I'm trying to wrap.
Let me start from the beginning.
Okay.
Let me start from the beginning. We kind of went into it at a weird angle. So when we experience something, we don't just think it. We feel it, we touch it, we taste it, we smell it. It comes in through our body. When it comes in through our body, it comes up into our limbic system. Our limbic system is the fight, flight. It's that protective part of our brain. And the limbic system's job is to determine, is this going to hurt us if we forget it too soon? Mm-hmm. Do we need to keep it handy? Is this something that is just too much for us to handle right now, where we can't really process it or we don't understand it, and so we need to hold on to it because otherwise it'll hurt us? Or if the answer is no to either one of those, can we just stick this in long-term storage where it becomes as important to our emotions and our body as what we wore last Thursday? It becomes information, data. when we hold on to those things that our brain is going, this could hurt us, or we can't process this, we form like little time capsules. And the brain's basically saying, okay, we'll deal with this later because it's just too much right now. The problem is those things leak. And so they can leak with imposter syndrome. They can leak with fear of charging fees. They can leak with other money issues. They can leak with insecurity, perfectionism, procrastination. And so what we do with brain spotting is we come in and we use the eyes to locate where that's stored, because our eyes are really the only thing outside of the brain that's directly connected.
Wow.
Right?
That's saying that your eyes are the windows to your soul. Like, I'm like, oh my goodness, so there's science behind this.
There really is. And so when you think about it, so I want you to think about, you said that you're in the RV right now, you're on the road with the hubby. So I want you to think about what color the shirt was that you pulled out of laundry last when you were at the house.
Okay.
Can you even remember? Okay. Did you notice how you kind of went and you looked kind of up and to your left?
Okay.
Because we're looking for where the memory was stored.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So that's what we're tapping into, is we're tapping into where that memory is stored. We combine that with the emotions in the body to unpack those time capsules. An example of this would be, so remember the last time that you and your hubby had a tiff. We won't call it a fight, but we'll call it an argument.
Okay.
Okay. One that you're still is still a little tender right now. Can you think of one? Well, if you're married now, come on.
I'm like, well, we just had a conversation this morning. So like about, some like taking out the trash, but yeah.
If there's still just a touch of emotion in there, I want you to tap in and feel where that emotion is and really kind of recognize it. And then I want you to look, using your eyeballs, I want you to look all the way to your left.
Okay.
Thinking about that tiff about the garbage. And then using just your eyeballs, look all the way to the right.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Thinking about that tiff, is it stronger on one side or the other? And you can go back and forth a couple times to notice the difference.
Yeah.
Thinking about that.
It's stronger here.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? That means that it's probably stored on the opposite side. So if you're looking to your left, it's probably stored in the right back here. And so in brain spotting, what we would do is we would tap into that emotion and we would let that feeling finish. We let that feeling finish out. We let it tell us what's in the way. And it's a beautiful thing, because what happens in a brain spotting session is we go through and we do irritate whatever's going on. So let's say I had one of my favorite people to talk about was a therapist, and she had just opened her practice and she desperately wanted to tell her doctor that she needed clients. Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm open. I need you to send me people. Right? Because that's something we all need to do. We need to figure out how to tell people, send us people. Right. We need them. And we had done so many different mindset things. And this was right when I first learned brain spotting. And so I was like, let's play. Because play is really important in life and in business, right? And so let's play. And so we tried the brain spotting. And she had an appointment with her doctor that afternoon. And not only did she tell her doctor, she called 2 other doctors that she was seeing and had a list of 25 people that she had known from a previous career that she was going through and calling and telling. So we went in and we found her spot where she was resisting telling people. Mm-hmm. And we uncovered the issue that she didn't even necessarily know she had. Now, we didn't have to go into any horrible memories or anything. It's just I'm trying to remember what her realization was. I think it was hers was just, it's uncomfortable. I'm just going to have to deal with it. Which doesn't sound like a revelation. Right. But it was a revelation to her.
It was something that
got her body.
It got her stuck physically.
Right.
She had a
It had
physical
her physically
reaction
stuck.
to it to where she couldn't, it froze her.
Right.
Ah,
And just her uncovering that through the session allowed her to get unstuck.
nice.
And it was amazing to see the difference. And even for high achievers, so a lot of people think, well, that I'm not stuck. I'm a high achiever. I'm
Oh,
going
we're all
90 miles
stuck.
an
We're
hour.
all stuck somewhere. We're going 90
Yeah,
miles an hour this way because we can't go this way, so we're going 90 miles per hour this way. If we could just take the
right,
shortcut, we might be able to go 50, 55, but we can't go 55 because
and
we're going 90 this way. Oh, I feel it.
right. Yeah, yeah. Well, this one other client of mine, she was set to make about $80,000 in her first year, which is exciting. She was type A, go, 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 go. But we knew that she was spending time focusing on things, like you said, she didn't need to be focusing on where she could be focusing on other things. She was working, 6, 7 days a week, 8, 10 hours a day, and burning out really fast.
Yeah.
She was getting ready just to crash. And this is her first year. And so we did some brain spotting, and she figured out where she could pull some things out that weren't vital and allow herself some rest. And not only did she shorten her days to 4 days a week, but she also cleared 140,000 that year because she
Wow.
was able to put it where it mattered instead of all of the other perfectionism that she was wrapped up in.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So how long have you been doing this? I know that this is kind of a new practice. So how long have you been practicing this? Is this in person or is this online? Is this something? And yeah, so many questions. I'm going to stop there. And
Oh my gosh. So I've been doing this for a little over 2 years
mhm,
now. I've been doing it under my own business for about 7 months. Um, I learned it underneath another business, and they love me, and they're all supportive of me doing everything. So I love them. I do it completely on Zoom.
okay.
I work with people all over the world. As long as you don't even have to have eyes. I was going to say as long as you have eyes, but you don't. You don't even have to have eyes. You have to be able to move like if you had eyes. Um, as long as you have a Zoom connection, that's really all you need. You don't have to tell me what's going on, which is a really big attractor for some people who've had serious traumas that maybe there's some shame around,
Yeah.
or maybe there's some fear.
Yeah.
You don't have to say a word. I'm your guide. The more you tell me, the better I can do it. But really, all of the magic is happening between here and here. I'm facilitating it and providing external regulation. So, what is that?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
I was curious.
when we are born, we do not have the ability to regulate our nervous systems, and we have to borrow from other people. So, when you see a toddler learning to walk, and they're toddling along and everything, and they fall down, what's the first thing they do?
They look to see how to
They look
react.
around.
Yeah.
They're trying to figure out how is it appropriate to react. If you get upset, oh my gosh, they're screaming, crying, howling. If you laugh it off, so are they. As we get older, we start to do that for ourselves. But these time capsules, our brain is trying to tell us it's not safe to do that. And so I come in with external regulation, just like your mom did when you were learning to walk. And I tell your nervous system, you know what? It's okay. It's safe. We can unpack this and put it in long-term storage. You're going to be all right. And it is so powerful.
So do you say those words as during the eye movement session, or does that just automatically happen?
It depends on what the person needs. There's a concept in brain spotting called follow the tail of the comet,
Okay.
which basically means that every session is unique.
Mm.
Every session is unique. Some people will need a lot of, you can't do this wrong. I am here. If you need me, look at me.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, they come in, they get started, and you're like, okay. And then when you're done, you're like, hey, you got a few more minutes to process? Great. What were your takeaways? And sometimes it has to do with, if they've done it before, if they've done other somatic work, mind-body work. Sometimes they just innately understand the process more. Sometimes people get stuck and we need to pull in other processes or do things differently. So a typical brain spotting session, we're looking in the direction of the pain or the issue. But some people, that's too sensitive. I'm working with a couple of young ladies right now who had some SA assaults while they were growing up. And it's interfering in their life. And so some days it's too much for them to look at the actual spot that is causing the pain. Mm-hmm. And so we look at other spots. We might look at a spot where they remember it, but it's not as heavy. Or we might look at, okay, the issue today that we're tackling is feeling taken advantage of. So who in your life or where in your life did you feel in control? And so we might start from there and work our way. There's so many different ways to do this.
So I love that you said maybe we start not where you feel out of control, but start where you do feel in control.
Right.
And lean in there.
Right. And lean into that. And it is crazy. It's crazy. I mean, this morning, I've got a client who's got some chronic pain issues. Mm-hmm. And I had heard that this can be used for chronic pain. And I told her, I said, hold tight. Let me do some research and make sure that I've got all the right info. And when I was listening to the guy that was instructing it, it's basically the same thing we're doing. It's not chronic pain from arthritis. It's chronic pain that the body has gotten used to from a trauma. And and the trauma could have been the arthritis. But it's not like acute.
But if you think about it, it's an inflammation, right? Something is inflamed, and that's coming through in physical arthritis. And
right.
And I've seen that where people when they go through depression or they go through a difficult state, everything hurts, right? But if they pull themselves out of that depression, either however way they choose to do it, they're in less pain in general. I wonder, it's not there's not as much of that inflammation. That's so cool.
Right. Yeah. I don't know exactly how it works yet. And the guy that figured out you could use physical pain said, we don't know yet why it works, but we're investigating it to figure it out. All we know is it seems to work.
That's fantastic. So. I love that you're working on the software, the brain. So if you think about a session is what, 30 minutes, an hour, 5 hours, a day? How much are we investing into such an impactful gift for ourselves or those we know?
So I usually like my first session to be 90 minutes. Because there's some education in the beginning, what this is going to look and feel like. Sometimes people have a little hesitancy because they're not sure they're doing it right. Again, going back to confirming with them that they're doing it just fine. Not everybody uses the full 90 minutes, but I'd like to have it open for them. After that, we go down to a 50-minute session because you know what you're doing, you know how to get into it. Mm-hmm. And so we can get into it, process much quicker. So if you need follow-up sessions or if you want to work on something else, it doesn't take as long.
So
it just, because you don't need the education piece.
So when we think about, is there a time where you're just, okay, your patients are just kind of or the folks that you serve, you're all right, they're I'm happy. I don't need any more sessions or.
Yes. In fact, that happens very frequently. You'll come in, so let's say you come in for imposter syndrome, you may only need one session.
Right.
But I do also find that it's addictive. And so maybe the imposter syndrome is good, life is great, and then you're going along one day and somebody says something and you turn around and bite their head off and you're like, who was that? That wasn't me. And you're like, oh, maybe I need to brain spot this. So then you come back and we do a session for something different. I have brain spotted on my business, which is why I'm here today. I have brain spotted on infertility. I have brain spotted on my relationship with my mother. I have brain spotted on some issues with, in my past. You can do it multiple times for multiple different things. I self brain spotted in the dentist chair. I used to have insane dental phobia. Like, I had to have somebody there holding my hand. You had to put me under to touch my teeth, period. Just really bad, because I'd had a really bad dentist in the military when I was young. My dad was Air Force, and they basically would work on me with no anesthesia because my nerves run the wrong way. And then I had a root canal with no anesthesia. Yeah, the dentist was crying too. It was horrible. So it was like, don't touch me. I don't care how bad it is. Don't touch me. Well, I had an abscess and I had to go to the dentist, and my husband was, 2 hours away at work. And it was like, okay, I can go in for the exam. I can do an exam. And, I get in there and he was like, well, we've got a block right after this. We can get some of this other work done that we need to get done. And my body was trying to run out the door, and my brain went, okay, where am I feeling it? And I went through the process, and I was able to sit for that hour and a half and get the other work done. And I went back on my own for all the rest of the work.
So
I have not had to have somebody holding my hand.
So walk me through that process that you went through. So you said, yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'm flipping out, and I know why. I know that this is scaring me. It's like, okay, where do I feel it? And so I located it.
So when you say, where do you feel it? Do you where do you feel it in your heart, your chest? Like, what do you mean? Like, I feel it in my toes? Like where are some places that you might feel it?
Everybody is different. Mm-hmm. And so you might feel it in your head, in your heart, in your solar plexus, in your toes, your hands, your arms. Some people will feel it outside their body. It'll feel like a wall outside or something that's just out of reach. I don't remember where I felt it because I was in the process. So I imagine, because I tend to feel a lot of stuff in my lower chest and the solar plexus area, that's probably where it was. But the important piece for that one is that it was like I recognized what I was feeling. I knew it was a sense of panic. I knew it was irrational. And then I allowed the feeling to complete itself. In the United States, America, and probably even Europe, I think Europe's even worse than we are, we don't feel our feelings.
So what does that look like? What does that look like when you're like, I allowed myself to feel the feeling? So play that out. So let's say we identify the location and it's like outside of our body, or it's in our soul, wherever it is. We identified where the location of the feeling, because that takes, and then you said you allow yourself to feel the feel. How does that play out? Like I hear this a lot. Feel the feel, and you're like, okay, feel the feel. What does that mean? Like, let's dive deep into what does feel the feel really mean? Because people say that a lot. But if you're not used to feeling the feel, what the heck does that even mean?
So when something happens, like I mentioned before, we experience it in our whole body.
Yeah.
So sitting here in that chair, I had a sensation come over me that was a negative sensation. And rather than doing what most people do, which is, this doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. I don't want to feel it. Pardon me. So I'm just going to ignore it. I'm going to pretend it doesn't exist, or I'm going to run away from what's causing it. I'm going to get away from the feeling. I just recognized that this doesn't feel good. I don't like the way this feels.
What are some ways that people get away from the feel? They like do something else.
Oh,
Give me like some examples of ways to get away from the feel. Like I start feeling this, I don't like the feel, so I start blank.
Oh, so in business, this one is a classic one. You need to make that phone call or do that outreach. You don't want to do it. There's something in your gut that's just like, ugh, I don't want to do this.
So you start doing dishes and laundry.
So, you do dishes and laundry, or you write a blog, or you do the busy work instead of the work that's going to get you to that next level because it didn't feel good.
So instead of doing that, what we should do is sit in it and don't let yourself off the hook by going and doing that other stuff, quote unquote, off the hook. Maybe that's not the right way to say it, but like I'm supposed to pick a phone. I'm supposed to make the call. I feel it here in my gut. Oh my gosh. Sit in it.
Sit in it. And here's the thing is that sometimes just sitting in it, just embracing it and feeling it is enough. Amp it up a little bit, move your eyes and find where it's worse and then sit in it because now we're starting to dig into what's causing it. Okay. Some people can't do that. Some people cannot physically sit in it. It's too much for them. And that's when you need somebody to be there to externally regulate you, to let your body know, you know what, it is okay.
So when somebody's sitting in it, when somebody's sitting in it with you, right, and they start looking like doing the eye movement, and then they're feeling, I don't know, how do they feel it's too much, overwhelmed? I don't know, like the feeling. I haven't done brain spotting, so I'm curious, right? How do you help them? What are some ways that you would help them regulate? Like, how do you know that it's too much? How do you know they're starting to avoid it? How do you know, like, they're letting themselves off the hook and not wanting to sit in it, in the feel?
Sometimes they'll tell you. They'll be like, oh, that's just too much. I can't do that. Sometimes they'll say, oh, well, the feeling's gone, which usually means if the feeling's gone, that they've shut it down. Sometimes it's just the movements on their face, the movements of their eyes. We have small movements that most people don't pick up on that will tell you whether you're processing something. And so if someone's processing and I'm not seeing the little tiny mouth movements, they're not, a lot of people do this the whole time. They stretch because their body's releasing things, right? If I'm not getting any of that and they're just kind of sitting there, I'll check in with them and I'll say, hey, what's going on? And when we're locating the feeling, we also give it a color, a shape, a texture, a weight, all of these things. And so I'll check in and I'll say, like yesterday it was a red sphere. I was like, how is that red sphere feeling right now? And if they're working on it and it's going well, it might just be, well, it's yellow, or now it's over here, or it's changed. It's smaller, it's bigger, whatever. It's different. If they're not doing anything and they're stuck, it'll be like, well, it's just still there and nothing's happening. Okay. We'll sit with it for a minute. And if still nothing changes, then we'll start bringing in some of these other techniques to help them get through that level of being able to feel it.
Okay, so I love this. Thank you for this conversation because we don't know. We haven't seen a movie about it. People don't talk about it. Like there's no understanding of what this process could potentially look like. So like I know I had a friend, they had like held one thing, it's like this side vibrates and this side vibrates, right? It's that same left right shift.
Yeah, I mean,
but I haven't seen the eye movement. So I think that's real. It's the same thing. It's that left right connection. So the
EMDR is the left right movement In brain spotting, we can use music to simulate that, but really we're picking a spot usually and staying there. And so it's allowing us to dig in to that memory. The left-right movement in EMDR helps the two sides communicate. But in brain spotting, we're not trying to communicate. We're trying to allow the body and the brain to connect together to process the memory so that it can be put in long-term storage.
I think it's interesting, like it's a red sphere. I'm like trying to think of a feeling, and then like that takes a lot of creativity to give it a feeling, a physical form.
It really doesn't, though, because your body is used to feeling things in a physical form. So with a little bit of guidance, your brain is ready to do that. I have had one person who wasn't able to, and when we talked, we still found her brain spots. We were still able to work and got a lot of movement on her, but she was like, I'm afraid of feeling. And she said, she had actually been in prayer about it and read a book about letting her emotions out. And she was like, I think that's why I couldn't feel it. And I was like, but we still made progress. I said, and now on top of that, now you know that you're afraid of feeling. So when we get together again, you'll be a step closer to healing.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So, folks, I assume this is really good for really any kind of anxiety.
I had a friend who had medical anxiety. For 17 years, she had gone into the ER when she was pregnant with her son, and they kept blowing her off. She'd gone in multiple times, and she nearly died, and he nearly died. And so ever since then, she would have a full-blown panic attack if she had a headache, if she had the smallest little pain in her body. She assumed she was dying, and it was just this cycle. And we had worked together on nutrition for it, some supplements, and while it was a little bit better, it was still interfering with her life and business.
Absolutely.
And so again, it was like, let's play, let's try this, let's play with brain spotting. And she has not had a panic attack since, and it's been 2 years. And during those 2 years, she has had 2 positive pap smears with a LEAP procedure for the pap smear. Her mother was diagnosed with glioblastoma and has been through several rounds of radiation and a couple surgeries. She's got some other personal issues that have been going on, and no panic attacks.
She's able to just
not only does it.
Wow.
Yeah, she's like, I feel like I should have one, but it never comes.
Oh, wow, that's brilliant. So you had mentioned that you that like you have some, you're willing to offer this to anybody who's listening, and also offers a discount, because I see incredible value in this. Where are you located? Just curious. And I love that it doesn't matter. This is like, I love how technology now brings us closer through Zoom, right? So.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I'm in Moulton, Texas. So there's probably only maybe one person that'll hear this, that'll even know where that is. I'm 10 miles north of Shiner, so anybody in Texas knows what Shiner is, because Shiner beer. But for all those non-Texas people, if you go San Antonio and Houston, there's a road between them called I-10. Fold it in half, go south a few miles, and that's where I'm at.
Okay. All right. So I know where I-10 is. I know where San Antonio and Houston is. Like, most people don't make that end of the triangle. So I live north of Dallas. So, and moving, where Lake Texoma is, you just take that and you just go north, and before you get to Oklahoma, stop in and say hello.
I would say I lived in the DFW area for a while.
Oh, so, I live in Allen right now and moving to Pottsboro.
Okay.
Yeah. So okay. So you mentioned some discounts, so folks can take advantage of this. And really, I've like I see this being so life changing. Tell us.
Yes, and I do honestly 100% believe it's life changing. It has changed my life and many of the lives of people that I've encountered. So yeah, I do the Beyond Mindset breakthrough session for free now. I used to include that in the package and charge for it. So we're going to sit down for 30 minutes. We're going to make sure brain spotting will work for you, because there are things it will not work for. If you are an introvert and you want to do a TED Talk and you don't like to speak to anybody and you don't ever want to do it, brain spotting is not going to get you over that. If you have
It's
chronic
not going to change
depression,
your character, your foundation. It's
right,
like it'll help you with the things. There's something happened and heal and bring you back to who you
right,
are versus changing who. It's not changing who you are. It's bringing out the who you are. So like whatever is.
right.
Oh, I think am I getting it correctly? I'm saying this. I'm just asking for like, am I understanding this correctly?
Right. It doesn't change who you fundamentally are. If you have depression and it truly is a chemical deficiency, I can't pull you out of depression. If you have depression, but it stems from an early trauma or multiple traumas, brain spotting can help. And so it can get a little sticky in there. Will it work? Will it not work? So I do the session for free. I love to talk. I love to help. If you're an entrepreneur, I've got a lot of coaching experience too, and just sitting and helping you to better your business so that you can reach more people fills me with so much joy. And then just recently, I've started doing group brain spotting. It's
What?
free. It's going to be every month. You can check out the dates. I don't even have it up on my website yet. But if you go to jenniehays.com/link,
Uh-huh.
LINK, we have the link to the next one. And we will be rotating topics. We'll be doing, money, mindset, imposter syndrome, fear of being seen. So we'll be rotating those month to month. So you'll want to check those out.
I am
They're
so
not
excited.
even on there yet.
Huh? Okay.
They're not even on there yet.
Listen,
Just decided this yesterday.
Jenny, I need you to update your website to just go to your calendar. Look at me, just go to your calendar, put it on your calendar, put it on your website, add the link. So jenniehays.com/link. If you'll do that today, right? Or tomorrow?
I will do that.
So it will be
I will
up
do
by
it
the
today.
time this gets posted. It'll be up. And then we're going to start this like
Yes.
once a month. And I think this is such a great opportunity for folks to get to know you. And then they can really fine tune, like do a private session to really fine tune the parts for them. I'm excited. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing brain spotting with us. This is an incredible concept. It's something that makes complete sense to me. Like the science behind this, the physics behind this, it makes complete sense. Like, and I think a lot of it's because I think of the brain as like wiring. And it seems like you're just rewiring maybe a place that's just rebuilding a road that kind of had like burned out a little bit. So I love that. Maybe there's an avalanche that washed out the road. You're just going to rebuild it.
We're filling
Filling
potholes.
potholes.
You got a pothole that you're going through, and we're just going to fill that up, and it's going to be just like the road that was there before.
I love that you said filling
And
out
you're going to be able
potholes. I'm like, highway got washed out. We're rebuilding it, right? You're like, let's just start with some potholes,
it's
okay?
really,
We're starting with some potholes.
yeah, you got to remember that you're not broken.
Uh,
I was, before
that's so
I did
beautiful.
brain spotting for my business, I sat there and I was crying to myself because I felt I was broken. It was like, I can't do this. I can't run a business because there's something wrong with me. I did a session of brain spotting and you see me here. I'm profitable. I'm talking to people. I'm doing the thing and doing it well. So you're not broken.
Just a little pothole.
You just
Oh, I love
yeah.
that. Thank you, Jenny. I love your perspective. I love your mindset. I completely cherish you. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for this conversation. I'm so excited, and I'm so excited for folks to meet with you, to join your group session so they can learn more about brain spotting and then dive deeper into their own personal feels and overcome their personal potholes as well. This is exciting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.